What's good with the YouTube? You already know Big Flacco with a convict's perspective, and I'm smashing, dashing, sliding on through with a little bit of energy. Man, once again, man, I had a good time doing we did about an hour's worth of videos. Me and Mr. Mask, man, the homeboy from Salinas, man. We did some good topics, man. I just dropped one on the Mexican mafia member being pulled recently from Salinas and what could possibly occur out there. We got one that we talk about the SMY rises, especially in Salinas and other areas, and what to expect in the future. Then did the last one about relationships with Carnales, man. You know, being that he was from Salinas, you're gonna have no choice but to interact because it's a stronghold. It's always been recognized as a mecca for the NF. But much respect to the young homeboy, man. Did a good job, man. The first video, like I said, man, this is it right here. This is where I'm feeling him out. You know what I'm saying? And seeing how I can make them feel comfortable and then open up from there. And we did a pretty good job, man. So hope you guys enjoy this. What's good with the YouTube? Y'all already know Big Flacco with the convict's perspective, man. I'm gonna smash, dash, slide on through with a little bit of energy, man. And we got a new individual with a new channel, man, out of the Monterey County, MR.MASK.15, man. How you doing, brother?
Doing pretty good, bro. Thank you, thank you.
Man, so you've been coming on with a familiar area I'm familiar with, Salinas, right? You pretty much have dropped some pretty good content, man. You started your first one, which was about hooping, huh?
Yeah, I did. I was just messing around, but I ended up uploading it and stuff. So
Yeah, some people were asking about that for a minute, man. So being that you're from Salinas, right? There's three counties that stick out to me. That the quality of soldados caliber, it just sticks out. One being Monterey County. I include all those cities in between because it doesn't matter if you're from King City, Green Pass, Chole, Gonzales. There's a lot of good dudes in those areas, right?
yeah.
I consider Tulare County, and then I consider Santa Clara County, right? How is it being raised in Salinas as a North Daniel? When you first started game banging, was there like a lot of pressure to like live up to an expectation early, or was it different for you?
It all starts with high expectations when you're growing up in the neighborhood, right? And as far as with coming up, like for my experience when I was coming up, it was high expectations with the big homies, right? Like they were already in the game, so they already had expectations as what to do. Like you can't be from a hood unless you go out and do certain things. You get what I'm saying? Certain things that I can't go fully in depth about. But as far as like, for example, some individuals be like, hey, you can't be from the hood unless you pop something. You know what I'm saying? Or you can't hang
Hmm.
around unless you hold yourself into high standards as far as like, the code of conduct, no snitching, um, not being a rapist. You can't have any bad paperwork, any bad jacket on yourself. Anytime you get arrested, you gotta keep your mouth shut. Whether you go to juvenile hall, you go to YA, anywhere that you gotta go, you gotta be smashing. Like that's your main goal. You gotta keep smashing. Be against anybody and all. You get what I'm saying? That goes against our cause. And so
Yeah.
from the very young age, we get engraved as to you're gonna be held in high standards. You get what I'm saying? Like you're gonna be pretty much we're breeding you to be down the line like a norteño soldado or to become NF, because it's the NF grounds where they're recruiting and they engrave all that to you from the start, from when you first grow, when you start coming up in the game. So all that is just growing up out here in Salinas, man. It was pretty tough, just to simplify it in the short terms. It was pretty tough. It was pretty rough, and a lot of individuals couldn't hang. A lot of individuals, like they used to be like, nah, they come around for a little bit and then they disappear. So we'll be like, hey, what happened with so and so, and we're so and so, because they couldn't hang. They couldn't keep up with everything that was thrown at them. Since we're minors, bro. Like I mentioned before, like from the age of 11, 10, 12, 13, like those were my ages that I was out here in the streets already running around with the big homies. And these are
Hmm.
individuals that are already 19, 20, 20 something. So it's like you have little youngsters looking up to individuals that are fully involved in the gang and that they already did things for the gang that they're telling you, I already did this. You have to do that in order to kick it with me. You get what I'm saying?
I agree with that 100%. And I have a different opinion on that nowadays. To me, it's like if you're 19, 20, 21 years old, what business do you have as an adult to influence a 12-year-old, 11-year-old to be partaking in those activities? You know what I'm saying? One
Yeah,
thing's to secure the hood. I get all that part, right? But it's becoming generational. Salinas is to me is generational when it comes to gangs. It goes from one generation to the next. And it's just a way of living out there. You know,
yeah,
it's such a small community. People don't realize, like in other areas, it's only about like maybe 180,000 people, right? And I've always thought that because of how small and how raza orientated it was, and how much the NF has its roots there, is why it's considered one of the strongholds as far as within the movement.
yeah. No, it is, bro, and I mean Salinas. It has um Salinas in general has a big reputation for a lot of Nuestra Familia to come out of. You get what I'm saying? So
Hmm.
since the start,
Yeah,
they've been smashing, they've been putting it down, and those, like they mentioned, those soldados or NF members, they paved the way for all these generations to come. And so those expectations that they put up, they were handed down to all the youth, coming up, and so on and so forth. And it's just a cycle that keeps going and keeps repeating itself. And so all the big homies, they have expectations of you. And when you're growing up and you're just a minor, you want to be a gangbanger, you know what I'm saying? And you look up to these individuals, and your big homies are like, oh, I'm going to do anything you ask me to do. That's how I was. You know what I'm saying? Speaking as
yeah,
from my perspective, because that's how I used to look at it, like, and I used to come across homies like, oh, this is the homie, this is, this is the carnal, and I used to look up to that. I used to be like, damn, when I grow up, I just want to be like him, bro. I wanna be a big homie. I wanna run this hood, or I wanna do this and I wanna do that. And growing up and doing in the work that I needed to do, and going into prison and YA and all these places that I've been to, I got a taste of what it felt to have certain positions and to have certain power. And it's
yeah,
like an addictive thing to have. You get what I'm saying? It's like a drug, bro. Like, if you take some type of power, you're gonna keep wanting it, and you're gonna want more and more and more and more, and the little that you keep getting is not gonna satisfy you. So therefore, you're gonna continue doing high crimes at a higher rate, and rolling the dice and risking your life.
yeah.
And
It's
so,
it's yeah. Go ahead, continue. Go ahead.
but in all terms, right? It's just like it's just sad, man. It's sad, and now that I'm older and I'm wiser, that I realized that it's like my point of view and my goal is to, like, trying to stop certain individuals. They could get an opportunity to see how it was for me, so they could apply that, and they could see that it was no joke, so they don't commit the same mistakes that I committed. But to each his own, like I always say, to each his own. If you like that style, go ahead, by all means. All power to you. But my goal here is to explain what I went through, so you could get a look at my experiences, and you can make a choice from there. Okay, well, I could either be this or be not. You get what I'm saying? But that's just some of the things that I have in mind. You get what I'm saying? So, but you were gonna say something,
See, I'm a little older than you, right? But almost 2 decades, almost, right?
right?
And for me, right, the things that I see and witness and talking to people that are younger, the cause and struggle has changed over the years. You know, the focal point of uplifting and bettering the gente, which was always supposed to be the ideals, right, of the movement, it's been thrown out the window. It's pretty much all about this nowadays. Which it was always about this, but this kind of camouflages the activities out there.
Right.
Nowadays, people are on Front Street about everything now. It's like it's about the money, it's about the bag, and especially with this everybody being taken off on the main lines, right? I mean, out of the hole and the end all hostilities. What struggle do the Nortenos really have behind the walls today, except for the struggle with each other?
Right.
You
No, and I
know, I
and I
mean,
encountered that, and I was in prison with 10 carnales, right? When they were doing the kicking out of the hole, like in 2015, 16, 17, and
yeah,
during those years is when other carnales were getting kicked out to the main lines. And so I happened to be during those years that I was in a level 3 Pleasant Valley, and that was like the stronghold for other main carnales that were coming out, and certain names just to throw it out there, like Mateo Gangster, uh, I mean, no, no, sorry about that. Mateo Gangster, Turtle, Ducks, Capone, and other individuals, like Jaime Chino, like there was a lot of them, bro. So it's like
Chino
we
from
had
Oakland,
to
yeah.
be like, and that was the thing, like I used to like look up to that. It's like, God damn, like it was rare before because I've been to prison when there was no carnales, right? It was really rare for you to encounter a carnal. So if you encounter a carnal, it was just like, God damn, you got the chance to meet one of these individuals and to talk to him. It's like you're talking to the president. You get what I'm saying? So it's
Hmm.
like encountering all these individuals. It was just like, God damn, these the big homies. Like, hey, what's up? I'll do anything for you guys. Like, I'll lay my life down, type thing, right? And this is how
Yeah.
everybody thinks, bro. And it's not.
It's
This is a regular person. Like they've been in the
it,
hole. They,
thank
they
you.
like us, but unfortunately, like they have this little status, and in a snap of a finger, they can order to kill anybody. And so that's just the way it goes, man. And so like you mentioned, a lot of things have changed through the past, and I ain't seen that, and it's all about the money, right? Because like grow when I started gangbanging and growing up, it wasn't really about the money. It was mainly about gang banging. You get what I'm saying? Like trying to
Yeah,
go
me too.
trying to go knock out the opposition. That was our main goal, like get rid of all the trash, get rid of all the opposition, like let's not let them try to take over the city as far as from Salinas. You get what I'm saying? And they used to make us go out, like, go put in your work, go do this, or what, like there's a threat out here in Salinas, like go get rid of it, or we can't let anybody be walking around, or with like trying to take over, in other words, right? And fast forward into a few years later, where it's just I got older and I went to the pen and came back out, and it's just about, what, if you can't bring in money, if you got no hustle, pretty much you're useless to us, like.
Useless. Yeah.
And that's just the that's just
You,
that's
you're only you're only as good as what your next contribution is,
yeah,
basically. And if you notice, people get passes based upon being considered elite. Like it says it right there in the bonds, right? Elite circle is based upon your contribution to your soldados, right? It's the same thing within the O, the NF. The more contributions that you do, the more basically pull you're going to have. You know what I'm saying? It's not about fucking being righteous. It's not about helping this person out. It's not about any of that. About what you can bring. You bring a body when you commit yourself to these groups, man. And it's like I said, it amazes me because I used to look at the same way you looked at them was the same way I did. You know what I'm saying? So it made me strive. Once you get there to that level, you start to sit there and see things for what they really are because you're kind of blinded at a young age. Like you don't see the negative parts of it. You know what I'm saying? And when you hear
right,
someone that does try to tell you like the truth of certain things, right? What's the first thing you hear? Oh, he's speaking poison, right? So you automatically block out that shit. But the deeper you get involved, the more you're entrusted with certain things, the more shit you get exposed to, man. And there's a lot of fucked up shit that goes on.
yeah. There's a lot of things that go on behind closed doors, and a lot of. And the downside about being with the homies, right, and being in prison with our organization is that your main enemies are the homies. They're the main ones that are nitpicking at you. They're the main ones that are trying to bring you down. They're the main ones that are trying to remove you, bro. You get what I'm saying? Because like,
Well, I mean, that's like I said, when you remove the oppositions, right? Like you're no longer at war with the MA or Daniels. You're no longer at war with the whites or the blacks. What are you going to do? You're going to politic within because you don't have those obstacles. Now, I've mentioned this many times. The fact that the Nortenos could plant their fucking flag on any active prison, the struggle no longer exists. The struggle is what kept everything alive, and why we were fucking in unity was because we had to worry about the fucking Sudanos outnumbering us. We had to worry about administration attacking us. We had to worry about getting validated going to the shoe. We had a lot on our fucking backs back then that we had to take care of, man. And so we had to wiggle a certain way, and we had a struggle. The struggle was to secure, educate, and establish in unification for the people against every obstacle that we face every day. That's what the struggle is. There is no struggle no more. The only struggle it is how many fucking cell phones can I get in? How much money can I make off this dope in here? That's what the struggle is. Whereas when I was in the system, bro, it was about fucking, are we gonna be able to walk this yard? Are we gonna be able to establish it? Are we gonna be able to remove the trash? You know, because there were
yeah,
certain places, like I said, it was different, man. Like, the homeboys that are in the system now, they have it a lot easier than some of us had back then, man. You kind of reached it to right where it was changing. So I'm pretty
yeah,
sure you've heard the stories and stuff, man. But when you take, like I said, you take away the enemy, you have to have an enemy to keep that cause alive.
No, well,
And,
I've been in both side of the coins, right? As far as like in 2013, I believe, where it was still funking with the Sureños, 12, 13,
mhm,
you know, like, and I was in a riot myself with the Sureños, you know, so I know how that is. I know how it is when we had that struggle, when we're faced with opposition and they have weight numbers and we outnumbered, and we were close knit raza how we were supposed to be, because we stuck
mhm.
to one another and we're defending one another, right? And we're going and we're defending our cause, our organization. And so we don't got time to sit there and politic amongst one another, because the next person that you're gonna try to politic on, this individual that's gonna help you save your life. You get what I'm saying? Like, he's gonna be going to war with you. And now pass
Yeah,
forward to a few years later, when all this ceasefire and all this is that going on. Now, instead of us being united and being strong, we're politicking against one another, trying to try to get each other removed. You get what I'm saying? Because like, oh, why I'm better than you because I'm bringing in this dope. You ain't no better than me. You know what I'm saying? But it's just like we're all equal. You know, the cause says that we're all equal. We have all the same opportunities. And now, just because you bring in some dope, that doesn't make you better than me. You know what I'm saying? It's
yeah.
like, but it does make him better because he has a revenue. He has some revenue coming in. He's doing something, and especially if he has a name behind him, like Carnal. Oh, well, I'm bringing this for the Carnal. Now he's being glorified because you're doing something for him. You know, and other individuals that lost their life for the cause, that went out there and did a lot of things and shedded blood behind walls or in the streets, they don't get that recognition because they're not bringing in money. You get what I'm saying?
Well,
So it's like,
that goes to the 80s and 90s, bro. Because if you think about the 80s and 90s, like you said, it'd be rare for a Carnal to be on those lines. It wasn't the NF that was pushing those lines to be established. It was the fucking the Nuestra Raza structure and the Northerners, Norteños. They were the ones that
exactly,
had to go to war. You know what I mean? And they, when you read some of the historia, I used to get, and this is when I was actively in the mix, bro. I used to get fucking pissed off when I would see this, like, how, how the hell you gonna call this dude a forefather? He's only 26 years old. He ain't fucking did fucking not one thing of work, and he fucking did this in fucking wire, whatever he may have done. You know what I'm saying? He may pull some
right?
bitch ass pussy ass shit, but yeah, he's been pulled because he's beneficial. You know, I'm not going to call that an elder. I'm not going to call that a forefather. And then when I rose through the ranks, I don't want no one to call me an elder. I don't want anybody to call me a forefather. I'm not one of the ones that made those sacrifices initially, you know. And like I said, it's kind of been it's hard, man. But I know being from Salinas that at least they've been able to try to maintain some sense. I know the end-all hostilities and the little conflict that's going on with state and feds has affected Salinas big time. I do know that.
Oh, it affected
It's
it big.
been it's been swinging back and forth with who's in control, which I'm not going to try to bring you into too much about that, but there's been times where the state's been in control of this, and there's been times the feds have been in control. It's a fucking mess out there right now.
As far
And
as what I heard from now, right? Like, not to really get too much into that because I don't really know much of it. But from what I heard was that at some point in time there was two regiments. There was a regiment
hmm
for the state and a regiment for the feds, and so they used to, you know, they used to get into it one with one another. But I guess now somehow, some way they sorted everything out, and the state told the feds, you know, you control this, you know, we'll pay this up, or whatever the case might be, right? Because I'm gonna be quite frank with you, I don't really know much of that, because after that, you know, I hung up the gloves, I started giving a f about all that, right? To me now it's nonsense. Now, not I'm not
hmm
saying that's for everybody, but just my opinion. You get what I'm saying? But
give giving
it
men
did
that much
affect
power,
that.
man.
But
You know what I'm saying?
it did affect Salinas, and not just Salinas in general. It affected a lot of counties. And in 2018, this is when it was barely happening, right? So I was involved in that yet. So I was still involved with it, and we used to get looked at because I was fighting a Fed case, right? So when we were with the homies from the state, they'll frown upon us. They'll be like, oh, well, you're gonna go to the Fed, so therefore, like, we can't really mess with you. So the homies from the feds will stick to one another, and the homies from the state will be with themselves. You get what I'm saying? So
That's
it'll be just like
that's
a power
interesting
trip.
because in the feds, most of the dudes that are in the feds are from Salinas, believe it or not. Some of the ones that are fucking looked at fucking really highly, man. You know, Pocky, fucking Bubba, Wino, um, you know, Jerry, fucking Powder, Rico, all those cats, they're all from Salas, man. I mean, and then the few Ansel dollars that are really righteous. So that kind of shocks me that people have that kind of energy on it. But then again, I get it too because they've made some C's in the state from Salinas that are now out. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to go and discuss all their names, of course not, but Um,